1.3 billion people competing for the American dream. Today, the new international reading, math, and science scores were released, and Chinese students left American teens in the dust in all three categories. We kept thinking all day of this scene we saw from our journey in China. These are third-grade students pausing to massage their heads for relief because they said they study so hard and they need to relax in the third grade. David Muir and I were talking about it. We traveled to China together. David.
And Diane, these numbers are stunning for the entire world. The Shanghai stunner, you could call it. In fact, our own education secretary called the results, the words that Diane used, a wake-up call. Our president is calling for a modern-day Sputnik moment to catch up. Tonight's new numbers reveal what Diane and I just witnessed a couple of weeks back in China.
Nearly 500,000 15-year-olds from all over the world took the test. The top 5 scores in math: Shanghai, China, Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. And way down the list in 30th, the U.S. In science, again, Shanghai, China at the top, then Finland, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan. And down at 20th, the U.S. And in reading, Shanghai, China again, and the others. And down at 17th, the U.S. In our travels to China, it was everywhere, that laser focus on education. This public school in Shanghai where the children were 2 years old. By 3, they're at school from 8 until 4, already learning phrases in English. And the older kids wondered from Diane if the reverse was true back here in the U.S.
Can you speak Chinese?
No, I can say ni hao.
On average, Chinese students attend 41 more days of school every year. And with some attending classes on the weekends, it amounts to 30% more hours of instruction every year, too. China, and now much of Asia, firmly sees a future beyond those factories.
Nobody wants to be the shoe manufacturer of the world. Everybody wants to be in the scientific and technical sector.
It's a global turning point the U.S. has faced before. 1960, then candidate John F. Kennedy, frustrated that the Soviets at that moment seemed to be winning the space race.
The first vehicle in space was called Sputnik, not Vanguard.
Money was poured into math and science. Less than a decade later, we put a man on the moon. With these test scores, now a new call from this president.
50 years later, our generation's Sputnik moment is back.
And it's not just Asia, Finland too. Diane discovered that firsthand last year, learning that every elementary school teacher there must have a master's. Half of American teachers do. And by the 7th grade, every Finnish child will have learned 3 languages. They start physics and chemistry in middle school.
Physics and chemistry in middle school. And one other number we were stunned to learn about today comes from a new Stanford study that found if American students were able to raise their performance on this international test by just about 5%, it would translate into $41 trillion in the U.S. economy over just the next 20 years, Diane. Just a 5% increase in how we do.
We did it before. We can do it again.